Hello, welcome. I want to thank everyone who's joined us this morning. I appreciate you all being here. My name is David Hafley, and I'm a developer at Apica who works on our fleet management product. And I'm here today to present this webinar, giving an introduction to Fleet and a brief tour of some of Fleet's features. So again, thank you all for making time to be able to join us today. And I look forward to presenting this information about Fleet to you. We previously did a webinar on high-level concepts related to fleet management, so I'm not going to spend a huge amount of time in this webinar going over that material, but I'm just going to review a few basic points about Apica fleet management and what it does and what its purpose is. Dive in a little bit into some concepts that are useful to go over for the demonstration today, and then we'll get into the product itself and show some of the features and demonstrate some of what it does. So what is Apica Fleet Management? Fleet is the newest product that we've released here at Apica. It is part of Apica's Ascent Observability platform, but it also can be used as a standalone product on its own. And the goal and focus of fleet management is to simplify data management challenges that organizations face when monitoring and setting up robust observability for large software platforms. What Fleet does is it automates the management, deployment, configuration, and tasks involved with working with the individual telemetry collection agents that are part of any modern monitoring system and setup. And some of the advanced features of Fleet and some of the things that you can do with Fleet enable really new and powerful ways of looking at the agents comprising a monitoring setup, letting us giving a lot of control over how data is collected and allowing a lot of dynamic scalability and replacing kind of static and difficult fixed configurations for these agents and improving the way we collect the telemetry data that we're collecting. So the first thing I really want to talk about introducing Fleet is to discuss what we mean by agents. Agents are the heart of the Fleet product. They're what Fleet is all about. They are telemetry collectors. They are the individual pieces of a monitoring platform that are responsible for actually collecting the data involved, the logs, the metrics, the traces, and so forth. Examples of agents, typical agents would be things like Logstash. Within the OpenTelemetry ecosystem, there's OpenTelemetry's collector. There's many other agents that are available and in common use, Prometheus agents, Vector, Metric Beat. Many different types of agents are used in modern observability stacks. Generally speaking, agents have a fairly common form. They're often a executable binary that's installed either on virtual machines, on hosts, or in the cloud. And they're usually associated with configuration files or a single configuration file. That's a very common pattern. However, agents can take other forms depending on the environments. One of the things we'll take a brief look at today is using Fleet within Kubernetes clusters and using some of the OpenTelemetry tools there. And those agents are very, very different. So Fleet's pretty flexible in terms of what an agent can be. But just as a general concept, these are things like your OpenTelemetry collector with its associated config files and so forth. Where this gets difficult, though, is, as I'm sure everyone who's attending this webinar is well aware, is when systems get large enough, the agents become very numerous. You have lots of them monitoring many different things. They all have configuration files. All of this is critical to maintaining and correctly and appropriately observed system. And it can become a lot of work to keep track of all the different agents and make sure that they're all working correctly and on the same page. Fleet management is very heavily based upon and uses a open source technology and protocol that's being developed within the OpenTelemetry community called Apica, which is a way of communicating about agents and centralizing information about them. Some agents, especially from the OpenTelemetry world, are having built-in support for Op-Amp, which makes them out-of-the-box compatible with Fleet. But most agents don't have this kind of connectivity built into them yet. It'll be interesting to see how the industry develops and how this technology is used, given that it's a open protocol. It's not an Apica product, so any vendors can support this, and many are working on it.
Okay.
So a critical piece of Fleet is our tool called Agent Manager, which is what is used to wrap an existing proprietary or open source agent binary and give it the support needed to communicate with Fleet using that protocol. So that's agents. That's what we're going to be working on in Fleet. One of the things that I want to talk about agents with and how Fleet regards them is Fleet talks about agents and then agent types. An agent is a single running instance of that agent. It's a collector running on a host. It's an actual executing binary somewhere, collecting data and feeding it into your monitoring platform. But the general kind of agent, such as telegraph agents or OpenTelemetry collectors, is called an agent type, and we can think of that as like a data type for agents. This is important in Fleet because often you'll have many types of agents within your setup, and Fleet, prevents obvious errors like assigning a telegraph configuration to an OpenTelemetry collector or things like that. So agent types play a role throughout the things we'll be demonstrating today. And just a few more concepts that I want to go over before we dive into the product, just talking about how Fleet works and how it does what it does and the terms that we use. Agents that we discussed within Fleet's domain are composed of one or more packages. This would be the actual binary file that runs the agent, or any plugins or add-ons that can be included or not included for that agent. And within Fleet, by assigning packages, you can control the binaries and add-ons for the agent. So you can upgrade the agent, you can add add-ons or remove them. And the other critical piece of agent setup is controlling the contents of the agent's configuration file. And within Fleet's domain, we call those configurations. And assigning configurations to an agent is how you alter the configuration and behavior of the agent. I'm using the word just like agents, all your packages that are defined in Fleet and made available to use, and any configurations that we load into Fleet that we can assign to our agents, they're all associated with an agent type. So like I was mentioning before, you can't inadvertently assign a configuration for an incorrect agent to the wrong agent type. Same for package. And we're using the word assign a lot because that is a first level type resource within Fleet. Configuration assignments and package assignments. Fleet collects data about a bunch of agents for you, and then allows you to load configurations and packages that you want to make available. And then using Fleet, we create assignments of configurations to agents and assignments of packages to agents. Fleet also contains a lot of automation features that we'll talk about at the end of this presentation, related to rules and external alerts, which can be used to define conditions under which Fleet automatically assigns configurations or packages to agents. These conditions can represent things such as time or be based on external events. And I'll dive more into that later in the presentation. But that's the overview of the concepts involved. So now we can jump a little bit into the product itself. I'm going to start with configurations to show the basic things we need to get in place and set up to be ready to assign things to agents. Configurations within Fleet are represent the contents of configuration files. So I'm actually going to switch over from the slideshow right now to this. And this is a demo environment that we have running for this presentation today that shows Fleet and a number of agents connected to it. And this is where I'll demonstrate the functionality that we're seeing. So starting with configurations, we have these tabs across the top. I'm going to go to the configurations tab. And this shows all the configurations that we've already loaded into this environment. And if I want to search for a particular type of configuration, I have a search bar up here that will let me narrow this list down. It will also let me show just configurations for particular agent types. So if I want to see my OpenTelemetry collector configurations, here they are. And here's one of the available configurations in the system. As a name, has a path where it gets installed locally. And then this is the contents of this configuration. And this is an OpenTelemetry collector configuration. It would be the contents of the config.yaml file. Anyone on the call who works with OpenTelemetry collectors probably recognizes this format where we set up all of our pipeline stuff for this agent. And one of the things that I do want to point out about configurations in Fleet is they allow these template inclusions that we're showing here. So a single configuration can have templated values as it gets assigned to agents. And agents can have unique user-defined data elements that you can set up on a per agent basis. And they also collect a lot of data themselves. So these templates in this configuration file will fill in here the operating system name and the host name. So one general configuration template can be used across multiple different types of agents, and these values Fleet will populate in when it assigns the agent this configuration. Think back to the slideshow for a second. Yeah, we can edit and update configurations through the screens I was showing in the user interface. And we talked about how configurations can include templates and macros that allow us to dynamically include agent data when these configurations are assigned. The other thing that we assign in Fleet to agents is packages. This is how we install updates and add-ons and so forth. Back to our demo environment. See, I have a bunch of available packages here comprising the agents in this environment. I've got OpenTelemetry collector packages here that I can assign to agents. I have a custom build version of it that we use on some agents, and then a generic vanilla OTelCol contrib version 112. Linux, Windows. So packages are how we represent those kind of things for complete. So where do configurations and packages come from? Well, one possibility is you can manually input all of your configurations through the user interface or import them. But there is a much easier way for setting all of this up. Fleet supports connection to any Git repository, which can be used as what we call the import repository for Fleet. And most of the Fleet resources can be defined in an import repository, which is updated and imported into Fleet. Any updates made to that repository automatically get pushed and applied to Fleet. Something off the slideshow again, here's an actual example of one of those repositories. This is the one I have connected to our demo environment today. It's a standard GitHub repository. And if I go under the configurations folder, I can show how this is where we actually set up and define all of the configurations that are available in the system. So the configuration we were just looking at in Fleet can be defined in a repository. And if I modify the contents of this repository with a push, Fleet will get that update, and it will update the configuration within its system. And it will also update the configuration down to any agents that currently have that configuration assigned to them. So this is another way of working with Fleet that can be helpful. It can give a GitOps type interface to working with Fleet, and simplify setup of large and complex configurations and package inclusions. Okay, so now that we have configurations and packages available, let's get into assigning them to agents and applying them. Here's the main agent interface screen for Fleet. I have several agents connected to this environment. I have several active ones right now, and I have some that I've disconnected to show you that as well. Right across the top at a glance, Fleet will show you the statuses of all the agents connected to your system. And you can see if there are any that are in statuses that might be problematic. Fleet agents using the Apica protocol will check in with Fleet every 30 seconds. And if an agent doesn't check in and can't be contacted by Fleet, it goes into this disconnected status. It can also go into an error status if we receive information back from the agent that it's having a problem. It can be in many other statuses, but these are available at a glance right from the Fleet agents tab. And when we dive into individual agent details, this is where we can see the health status specifics, as well as what configurations are currently in effect on the agent, and a small amount of log tail information pulled up from the agent. Here's our demo environment, and here is one of our agents connected to this environment. This agent is just a dummy demo agent, so it doesn't have a whole lot in terms of details and metadata that have been set up for it, but we can see that the agent is active. It's currently running. We can see the time that it's last checked in at, see its process ID, and down here, this is a regularly updated tail of the last end of the log data coming from the actual collector. This particular agent is an open telemetry collector, so I can see from the logs that it's done its normal startup process and that everything is ready message. So it looks like this agent is working. From within the agent screen, I can look at a tab that shows me the actual configurations currently in effect on this agent right now, as reported back by the agent. So this is the OpenTelemetry config.yaml file that this agent is currently running with. You can see here where those templates that we looked at before have now been populated with the actual values that are represented for this particular agent. This is also the screen where you can manually assign a new configuration to an agent. The button over here that lets us do that. I can select a different one. I'll pick this OpenTelemetry Collector Linux test configuration. And I'll assign that. And I can see Fleet telling me it's assigned it successfully. I can now see a new configuration assignment showing up over here. This part of the display is a history view showing the last several assignments that I've made to this particular agent, as well as what's currently active and what's now ending, because I've just started a new assignment happening. As Fleet just happened. Okay, Fleet has updated that now the new pending assignment that was being done is active, and the formerly active one has gone inactive. I can also look in the contents of their configuration that is recorded and verify that I now have, yes, the new contents that I was looking for there. And yeah, that's configuration assignments. I can also set this agent back to the original configuration that it had before I just changed it. Kind of see the same flow happen again. Manually refresh it to see what happened. Here we go. So that configuration is now assigned. Yep, we've gone back to the old version, and that's assigning configurations manually within Fleet. We also talked about the assignment history view, how we can see what and when, as far as configuration assignments. This is very useful for testing and diagnostics. If something isn't working or something isn't assigned the way you expect it would be, this is how you can look and see, okay, what is the history of everything that's happened with this agent's configuration. And then I will jump back to the main agent list screen, show some of the other Fleet features. There's an advanced search box that we can use to build an agent selector or search expression. So if I wanted to display agents whose status is active only, I can do that. It trims my view down to that. Maybe, as you can see here, it allows you to save past queries that you've used. Maybe a more interesting query would be agents where the status is disconnected. Go. And then you can also build complicated and an or, group and an or criterias with the advanced search. So you can get very specific as far as how we're searching for these agents. And one of the other things I wanted to show you is, besides configuration assignments, we can take actions on these agents directly from the screen. We can select one or more than one. And from the actions menu, I can start these agents, stop them, restart them, uninstall them, assign new packages to them, and more actions are coming quickly as well. So if I were to stop this agent, you can see that I've initiated the stop. It's going into stopping, and it's going to shut that agent down. I don't actually want to shut that agent down, so I'm going to start it back up. Start action. Hear that coming back up. There it goes. And it has a return to active status. Go in and see. Don't have any logs yet. Give it a second to populate. There we go. Now my logs have come in from the restart. I can see that it started back up again okay, and we got back to our everything is ready, begin running and processing data. So that's actions. This is out of scope for this webinar today. We're just introducing some of these basic features, but there are many advanced and interesting features that we can also do within Fleet that I encourage you to reach out to us about. We're be happy to talk to you about. Fleet includes rules which allow the automatic assignment packages or configurations under specified conditions. Conditions can be based on time, occurring at a specific set time, or on a recurring schedule. For example, every Monday at 5 o'clock, assign this particular configuration. 1 hour later, change it back to this other one. But they can also be based on other data within Fleet. We talked about agents being in error statuses. It can also be based on a concept called external alerts, which is how you connect the alerting functionality of the monitoring platform to Fleet, so that if other things that you're tracking and monitoring go into an alert status, that sends a message to Fleet, and rules can automatically apply configurations under those conditions. This is where you get into really cool things like being able to ramp up your collection of how much data you're collecting and how much sampling you're doing, and what density of logs you're collecting if you're experiencing alerts or errors, and then ramp that collection back down when you're not. That's the kind of flexibility and dynamic observability that you can set up with Fleet. Yeah, and I think that pretty much covers all the topics that I had wanted to show you guys today. So if there's any questions now, I'd be happy to address anything that comes up in the chat if we see any. And if there are no questions, that's wonderful too. Please, if any of this is interesting to you, if you do have questions or would like further information about this, reach out to us at Apica, to our folks in sales. They would be happy to have a conversation, set up more demonstrations for you, and ways that you can get your questions answered and see a lot more information about this product.